Hello, welcome back to the station. It is Kyle Peters here for Station CT Cape Town James Bond podcast. And today we've got a very niche, very fascinating episode. I am here with Matt Robenheimer. We would call him a super Bond fan, the most obsessed Bond fan in Cape Town. And we're also joined by Abby Nell. Abby, we might describe as a casual Bond fan, somewhere in the rookie camp, but she's not here as a Bond fan. She is here as a graphic designer, font lover. Because what we're talking about today is the Sean Connery and George Lazenby James Bond film titles and film title logos. The design work purely on not the whole poster, but literally on the title of the movie. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we are going to discuss movie by movie, look at the different options for each movie. Between the three of us, we're going to somehow vote on the one that we think we love to represent that movie. And then as we work our way through them, which is basically the 60s plus one movie from the 1970s, we're going to rank them. And by the end, we'll have the first 7 Eon James Bond movie logos ranked in our favorite order. Guys, welcome to the channel. It's so good to have you here.
Thanks so much, Kyle. I'm excited for our discussion.
Thanks, Kyle. I mean, this is pure nerd territory, so I'm all for it.
Exactly. And Matt, thanks so much for compiling all the logos and posters together in one place so that we can see them, people can see them. It's going to make for a fantastic discussion. And Matt is also coming at this from a sort of literary. One of Matt's biggest things is his James Bond book literary background. So he's got some additional insights into some of the inspiration that's actually taken from the kind of first edition Ian Fleming novels. But we'll get there. Guys, let's start. Let's not waste time. The first movie we're going to discuss is Dr. No. And as I was thinking about it today, I already had some thoughts. So there's a few things to chat about here. The first thing Matt threw up for us was the different title treatments on the posters. We've got the I think it's the US and the UK. Matt, is the US the white one and the UK the yellow one? We may just say white and yellow.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm just going to quickly say, okay, look at some differences here. We've got on the white one what looks to me like typewriter font. Abby can jump in a moment. The other one is, and we got capitalized names with lowercase the next letters, and then the other one is all capitals, Dr. No. And then the third option that we really have is when we go over and we look at. So those are the original posters from the 60s. When we go over to the VHSs and the DVDs and Blu-rays, we've got a combination of kind of that original typewriter font, as I'm calling it, and then a whole different thing in the sort of 90s, early 2000s era with what I could just call the capitalized fat no font. Matt, you start off. I've got some ideas. Abby, I'd love to hear from you as well in a moment. But Matt, just comment on a couple of these things.
Well, the first thing about Dr. No is that it's the first movie. And the remarkable thing about Dr. No is that in a series which has now gone on for well over 60 years, so many of the things that have endured in the series started in Dr. No, from the opening gun barrel logo and the James Bond theme, some of the sort of famous lines of dialogue. So lots of the template and the formula get established in Dr. No straight away. When I look at the posters, that's also true to a certain extent. We get some of the sort of classic James Bond gun poses and the 007 gun logo and all that. But when it comes to the fonts and the actual title treatments, like I think the one that's stood the test of time is what you call the typewriter font. I also sort of think of it as like the rubber stamp font. It's got those like rough edges. But coming at it from, as you said, I come at it from a slightly more Ian Fleming point of view. Funny enough, none of the movie poster or DVD or VHS treatments really feel like Dr. No to me. Dr. No is kind of, in the Ian Fleming canon of novels, Dr. No is kind of like the weird island one with some like strange, almost mystical villain and like Bond battling a giant squid and stuff like that. even more crazy than what goes on in the movie. And
Yeah.
the way that the title was kind of illustrated on various versions of the books, and including the original first edition when it came out, was kind of like this more islandy paintbrushed style, which to me, that's what Dr. No is from a sort of typography point of view. Like this isn't a first edition, but this is kind of like the style that Dr. No is to me, like this white brushed lettering. So like if I was to picture my ideal Dr. No typeface or typography, it's actually what's on the novel. So when I look at the posters, the one that kind of speaks the most to me from a James Bond style point of view is actually that typewriter font. That's kind of like a very typical of a 1950s and 60s James Bond style. But to me, it's not necessarily the Dr. No style. They didn't quite capture, I think, what the book versions did.
Okay, Brew, loving that. Abby, you haven't seen most of the Sean Connery or any of the Sean Connery movies, right? So you've got nothing in terms of movie
Unfortunately
context.
not.
No, that's why we got you here. We're different perspectives. You look at these three logos, basically: the typewriter font, the
Yes.
capitalized straight font, and the fat no font. You know, what do you think about each of them? Why would someone maybe even choose some of them? Just give us your designer brain.
So I think to start off, we call the typewriter font a slab serif. So the serif is the little feet at the bottom, and I do love that one. That one's my favorite on the white poster. I think it's confident. I love that it's heavy and quite impactful. And I think, well, I'm also quite interested in, as you said, having the D and the N capitalized, as opposed to the UK poster where everything is capitals. It's sometimes a little bit harder to read or to know what it is that you're looking for. I also really like the hand-cut feel of the typography. I think that it's not perfect, but I think that that's good. And I think if I even were to maybe design this now, or another designer were to be given this, they would clean it up a lot. And I don't think that is necessary. Like, I think that's sort of part of the charm of it, is the fact that it is a little bit rougher. I find it interesting that the UK and the US are so inconsistent with one another. It's not even like remotely the same. But I think that they just had some early inconsistencies. So you'll see a bit later, doesn't necessarily follow through. So yeah, and I think,
love it.
yeah, imperfect design gives personality. So all for it.
I love
Looks
that.
great.
Yeah, there's so much variation in a lot of these logos, which is why we're debating them. If we jumped and did the 90s ones and
Yes.
the new Daniel Craig ones, it like the CI or whatever you call it, brand identity is like set. Every movie has that logo and it's pasted on everything and it's clear. Whereas this is the beauty of this conversation. That's super helpful. And you've articulated something for me, which I think is linked to Matt's comment on the island thing. So I'm landing with you guys as well. So we've got our first decision made here, which is great. The original, I've already forgotten what the font is called. So the rough
Slab
typewriter
serif.
font, right? Slab serif. I'm with you guys on voting for that. Historically, because I grew up in the 90s with these VHSs and stuff, that fat Dr. No font for me is what I have thought of for years as the Dr. No. I've always loved that. But literally today, I was thinking about this and have officially flopped my decision to join you guys. I'll tell you why now. But that rough thing that you're talking about there, Abby, I think that I never clicked that it's as rough as it is. It's not clean like the yellow poster one, and that to me is maybe a hint of that island roughness coming through. It's not as Caribbean or whatever, but it definitely has that rough and rawness. But here's what flopped me over the edge, and Matt, I think you'll love this. Abby, you'll be like, what the hell? But when Dr. No is this mysterious guy in the movie, we only meet him, whatever, 3/4 of the way through the film. And the first time we hear about him is his name. We see it on an MI6 file that gets stolen. So all the information about Dr. No is removed from the MI6 office, and that's where we see it. Dr. No, and I don't think that the font is like this, but this font reminds me of like a case file. It's a case file font, and that's what starts this whole thing off. The case file for Dr. No, is stolen and the secretary's killed, and that's what starts off the whole adventure. So that for me is the thing that was like, oh, that actually links quite nicely with the intrigue and the mystery and the plot of the film. Could it be a total stretch? Absolutely, it could be a total stretch, yeah. But that to me was actually what flopped me over today. So I'm happy in locking in Dr. No. Matt, you got any final comments?
Only that I've never liked the fat Dr. No thing. That's one of the very few VHS era logos that I don't like. I mean, I have the nostalgia attachment to those covers and those titles, but not the fat Dr. No.
Do you know why? I think there has been more than my nostalgia. I just thought for such a short, plain title, it tried to do something with it to make it, stand out.
Yes.
So that's probably why I liked it. But I'm with you guys. I'm landing on slab serif.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, it is slab serif.
Slab serif.
Amazing.
I do think it's one of the examples where that's the one that's endured, that got carried over in the Ultimate Edition DVD and then Blu-rays, and pretty much every time you see Dr. No kind of advertised today,
yes,
it's that original US movie poster logo, and I think that's one where they got it right.
Yep. Guys, we're unanimous. It's the first unanimous decision on the first movie. Okay, that was 1962, guys. We're moving to 1963 here, From Russia with Love. Again, we're not going to give Abby any context for the movies until after Matt and I, let's go this way. Abby, you go first with zero film context, and you just tell us what you see and what you're thinking and stuff, and then we'll nerd out after that.
Okay, perfect. I look forward to one day joining the nerd side. I've got some catching up to do. I think this is super interesting. It's got a lot of Cold War visual language going on. I think the hammer and the sickle in the O for love, it instantly sort of sets context for the film, I assume. And yeah, I think, I don't know if this is a popular opinion or not, but I almost think it might be a little bit too on the nose. Like it might be a little bit too literal. If I maybe were redesigning it now in 2026. And yeah, I think it's got some cool like literary origins with the stenciled lettering and almost like the pulp paperbacks. So yeah. It's also a good one. Not as good as Dr. No, but
okay, so you love Dr. No at this point. Okay, that's great. And when you come to so would you say if you go down to those home video releases, Abby,
yes,
the videos and the DVDs, do you prefer some of what you're seeing there? I mean, I know the one on the far right is the hammer and sickle, but the ones that don't have the hammer and sickle, what do you think about that?
Yes, I definitely prefer those. I think the hierarchy of the fonts is really interesting, with Russia being bigger, love being bigger, and yeah, I think it just allows your eye to read the words and sort of fill in the blanks, as opposed to thinking people need to be told exactly what it is that they're seeing, which the hammer and the sickle would be for me.
Yeah, gotcha. Great, this is helpful. I'm sure we'll cycle back to you again in a moment. Matt, talk to us. And you're going to nerd out here. I know you're going to nerd out big time here, so go for it.
Yeah, From Russia with Love, it is my favorite film after all. And yeah, it's one of the films, I guess, from a design point of view, I think is quite a significant one because of that incorporation of an icon into the title. And that was something that they would do from time to time. It's not that common in the sort of history of James Bond design, but I think From Russia with Love is one of the most significant examples. And of course, being of all the James Bond movies, it's the Cold War James Bond movie, being set like in a way behind the Iron Curtain, with Bond very much involved with Russian characters, which is actually quite rare in the series. So I particularly enjoy both of the hammer and sickle versions. From my kind of literary Bond point of view, I really enjoy the British one.
Here we go.
Because it mirrors quite closely the style, which by 1963 was kind of the house style of James Bond from a literary point of view. When From Russia with Love first came out, I think it was the 5th book in the series. It was the first one to have a cover designed by Richard Chopping, who was an artist that I think Ian Fleming personally hired to illustrate the cover. And almost all the Bond books that came out from that point, literally until like the mid-80s, kept that same style of illustration and the black stencil fonts. So to me, From Russia with Love, the British poster is kind of a bit of a nice blend of literary James Bond with the film series kind of getting on its feet and bringing in that Soviet iconography into the text as well. But I actually do have a difficult choice choosing between the US and the UK original poster styles. I really do like them both. The US one being a bit bolder. The British one, yes, it has that kind of literary throwback style to it. But I think if you were to choose one treatment to kind of symbolize From Russia with Love overall, I think the US one, once again, is kind of like the dominant one, and it's the one that's lasted over the years.
That's the red on white, eh?
Yes.
Making sure I got the right one. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
On the left.
Did they use that, Matt? That's such great insight here, man. Did they use that on the video game?
I can't quite picture the video game cover right now, but I think they did.
I'm pretty sure the poster next to me is the same as the video game cover.
Yeah, I think it is.
Not that you can see it, which is, it's stenciled. Yeah, it is the same, but it's on my poster in the video game, it's
like laid out differently.
It's not a line, it's laid out differently.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, I quite like. But okay.
But also that VHS one, and I mean that is also a significant cover for me personally. It was the first James Bond video I ever had. So that
nostalgia, you see,
the nostalgia thing comes in again, and I do think it's a really nice treatment, especially the way it's laid out on the VHS with the white contrasting against the sort of flame background. I didn't like it nearly as much on the DVD when the text became yellowish and kind of blended in with the background more. Nor did I like it as much on the Ultimate Edition DVD when it was all sort of laid out in a line. I like the way it's stacked more on the VHS.
Agreed completely. All right, here's my opinion. It's taking combinations of all of these, actually, now that I think about it. Firstly, 10 points to Abby. Maybe it's obvious, but 10 points for Abby, who's like, this thing gives me Cold War vibes, and you nail it. Like, that is exactly, this is Matt. This is the Cold War. This is the Cold War movie. So, as Abby was saying, like, probably a modern version wouldn't have the hammer and sickle. I obviously loved the charm in the 60s and the whole thing. So I vote hammer and sickle along with Matt. And I go US bold rather than the UK, which I think is where Matt landed as well.
Pretty much, yeah.
However, if I had to, I mean, this is nerd level central here, guys. If I had to then say, I love the Blu-ray with Sean Connery with his gun on the cover, where it's not laid out in line. It's the same bold font, but done in a different layout, much more, because I do love the layout of those other ones that aren't just a straight line. So probably for me, if I had to go of all of them, My vote would head for that From Russia with Love, bold US, but actually in a lined layout rather than in one straight line. Matt, then Abby. If we were to, we've ganged up on Abby here, and
That's okay.
we've outvoted her in terms of font, but in terms of layout now, I'm interested
Yes.
here. Abby, the bold flat line, like in one line, From Russia with Love, or the slightly mixed up one that's on 4 lines, basically.
Yeah.
Each of you tell me.
I agree with Matt. I like the stacked version. I think it's a lot more visually interesting. And I think it doesn't, because like you said, Dr. No is very short. It reads quite quickly. I think having it stacked enables your eye to quickly have everything in one place as opposed to the horizontal version.
Right. And loving what we're learning here, or at least me personally, stacked. That's what we
Yes.
call it. It's like I'm fumbling for words, the different lines, and it's like stacked. Matt, US font treatment, line or stacked?
I suppose in the context that it appears is significant for me. On that sort of modern, very plain black background image that is tend to be used now to market the film, I think it works in the stacked format. But if you're looking at it in the context of the original poster, I think the horizontal line format kind of makes sense. So for me, it's kind of a case of where are you putting it. But I do think that the stacked layout is effective, and I do like it a lot.
All right. Well, maybe we need to make a decision on the exact nature of it, or can we?
I think the both are included in the same logo for
I can live
me.
with that. I can live with that. Both versions of
yeah.
it. Yeah, there are variations of the thing. Okay, I can live with that. Okay. Then let's hear this. I think we heard Abby's answer just now. We'll do the ranking. Dr. No versus From Russia with Love. Which are we preferring so far?
I personally prefer Dr. No. But I think that might be an unpopular opinion.
But this is a safe
The
space.
tribe will speak. Okay, good.
The tribe will speak.
I have to be honest.
Matt,
I have a hard time ranking one over the other.
Oh, really?
I do, yeah. Because to me, having a James Bond title with an icon in it, like the From Russia with Love one, is kind of like a quintessential Bond thing for me. Even though it's not consistently done throughout the series.
Yeah.
Maybe the From Russia with Love bias factors into it slightly for me as well. But I think they're both very strong options. I'd have to give a slight edge maybe to From Russia with Love, given my biases and my love for the incorporating an icon into the title.
Yeah, no, I like it. I'm probably easier to go. So if Matt's sitting on the fence and flopping one way, and Abby's on Dr. No, I'm loving From Russia with Love with the icon and the whole shebang. Just because, as I said, I almost had to be converted to the Dr. No font that we chose today because I felt it was so plain and thing. So when Abby was like, "This gives me Cold War vibes and stuff," I'm like, "Yeah, it's communicating what it needs to communicate." And I feel like it's one of those very iconic. I think this is one of the most iconic standout fonts of the whole series. You know what I mean? I think there's a couple of logos that you can like Octopussy, you can see, and this one, like I think you can see. I think a lot of the others just kind of like Moonraker. No one remembers the Moonraker font. Well, Matt will, but I don't think your average person like.
But only the VHS version.
But only the VHS version. Okay, guys, let's bank that. Let's bank that. We could argue for days, but this is great. This is going to be interesting now. Oh, we didn't chat, but it's fine. The in movie titles, we're not really counting them as such, but the title in the title sequence of the movie it's very plain. There's not much to it. It's more the title sequence around it that makes it awesome with the belly dances and projection and stuff. But is there anything to say on that from you guys before we move on to Goldfinger?
From my point of view, the title sequence for From Russia with Love is one of my favorite 2 minutes of film in the entire series. Actually,
Wow.
it's not a James Bond title sequence in the most classic tradition, but I love that it has an instrumental title theme and it's got this kind of like mysterious, sexy feel to it. So the fact that they did produce a home video cover at some point that incorporated that projection style in, I think it was just a really cool variation. And in fact, if I had to choose one home video cover from Russia with Love, it would probably be that one. So that's just why I felt like it was maybe worth mentioning.
No, I like it. I like it. Abby, anything from your side?
I just thought it's very interesting that they use just a normal sans serif font, which they obviously haven't done apart from the red Dr. No. But I think it works really well because assuming that everything else around it is visually interesting, I think it'd be super cluttered if they then still included the serif font with the icon and everything else. So I think it reads nicely and clearly. Yeah.
One thing that's quite consistent through the series is actually in the title sequence in the movies, keeping a very, very plain sans serif font for most of it, because the title sequences are very visually stunning.
Yes.
So throughout all the text that appears, and normally the title treatment for the film itself as well, will stick to a very plain sans serif version. And that's something you often also see now in the marketing of James Bond movies on streaming and such, is that they actually do use that very plain movie title style text for the titles of the films. I think if you look them up now on streaming, for example, you're actually more likely to see that very plain sans serif style than any of the designed unique title treatments that were produced for the posters or other home video releases.
That's interesting.
That makes sense. Abby, when you said that that it would be too cluttered, immediately then I realized, because I've always been like, the fonts are always boring in the movies, pretty much. Like for at least the first 15, 16 Bond films, they're pretty standard. And then that made sense. It's like, actually, that pops the best in the chaos of the title sequence. So that actually, thank you. You both have served me well there in that moment. All right, guys, From Russia with Love is winning. Matt, could you get a Word doc or something, bro? Just track or I'll use my phone. Let me use my phone in the background. Just track our rankings in the moment.
Yeah, my phone is my camera. So at the moment, I have no access to a phone.
I got my rankings here, bro. They'll happen. I'll cut this bit out. Okay. Guys, we're going to move on and talk about 1964's Goldfinger. What I will just set up for context here for Abby is this was when James Bond went from a successful franchise into like a super mega biggest franchise on the planet kind of mentalness. Goldfinger and Thunderball were the height of Bond mania in the 60s, and so this was a big deal, kind of. Matt, you go first this time. Talk to us.
Goldfinger is one of the ones that I don't have any strong connection to any of the title treatments. Goldfinger in the posters especially was all about the image of the gold body. That was kind of what the film was marketed on. It was the woman painted gold. For me, the title was almost like it was just there, if that makes any sense. So what I actually didn't realize though until I started looking at the posters in particular for this discussion was that there's still a variation between the US and the UK. Whereas in my head, they were always just the same because I never really looked at the title. It's not like one of those ones where my eye was drawn to the logo. It was drawn to the gold woman and the projections of Sean Connery and Anna Blackman or the movie stills on the US version. So yeah, the title actually, I don't have a particular, I don't know if the right word is like history or long time of thinking about that title, just because it kind of is just to me, pretty straightforward, pretty plain, and it's kind of almost secondary to the iconography of the film, which is the Golden Girl.
Yeah, and that's interesting. Thinking about Abby's comment from the last movie, the chaos of something needing a plainer font. Where if your eyes actually really meant to be drawn to everything else, like maybe that helps in the context. It obviously makes for a plainer logo, but maybe it serves the bigger picture. Matt, quickly, one last thing before I ask Abby. What about the 90s VHS one? And yeah, and even the DVD, the special edition DVD. I think that's terrible, to be honest. That's probably the worst of all of them. But the 90s, the DVD?
Well, I guess it does.
VHS?
Yeah, it's got like a angled metal kind of feel to it with the way they've kind of shaded the letters, and it's kind of like a sort of copper plate kind of style, which I guess has a kind of metallic connection to it. And funny enough, I do actually like that DVD, the special edition DVD. Just the fact that
Really?
the text is yellow. I mean, it just makes sense to me in that regard. But I guess it's cleaner looking on the VHS original version before they add like the red outline and all that other stuff. Because they basically, for the special edition DVDs, they more or less took what they designed for the VHSs and then basically embellished all of them with a sort of a yellow gradient fill on the text, and then that red outline. But for me, Goldfinger was one of the ones where that kind of worked for me in the transition from the VHS to the DVD.
Controversial opinion, in my opinion. But okay, Abby, talk to us. The posters, those DVDs. What are you saying?
I do have a strong opinion about this one, and I think it's perfect. I like no notes. The kerning for me, which is your spacing between your letters, is set really well. It's got this like iconic geometric lettering, which beautiful, and I think it's got such a luxurious feel to it. As opposed to the previous ones that were a little bit more pulp fiction-y, potentially poster magazine. This one feels to me like really that classic like James Bond that we now know and have come to like know and love, in his suit and very suave. And I think this, I would say, would be the first one that it reads as a brand on its own. The Goldfinger word, it's not just a title,
Right.
but it could potentially stand alone, whereas I think the previous two needed the 007.
So Abby, the font that you're referring to and you're loving, is it the one that's in the white on the left poster, or
Yes.
the right poster? Both white.
So I think the one that's on the left, the US version, I think it's a little bit fatter. It's not as condensed. I don't think the other one is terrible, but I really, really like the one on the US.
You really like that
poster,
US
yeah.
one. That's great. And
It's so
is that
nice.
the one that they brought forward now with the Blu-rays and DVDs and stuff? Man,
Yeah,
same thing.
that's
Yes, it looks like
again,
it,
it's
yeah.
like become like Abby said, it's the brand. That's Goldfinger. That
That's the
particular
brand.
treatment. And I like what you say also about the kerning, and that's one of the things that that really makes the US one a lot stronger than the UK counterpart for me.
Okay, so you're both voting that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so decisions made before I've spoken, and that's fine. And I think as I've heard you've swayed me a bit. Like my vote prior to today was I to be honest, I thought they were all plain, just from a layman's quick view. You know, they don't have sickles and hammers, all sorts of stuff. I thought they were all very plain, but then I thought about the differences and seen them. I was then going to go with the VHS one that I was pushing you on, Matt, just now. That has I like what you said, like you mentioned like angular
It's kind of like engraved almost.
Yes.
engraved, which then speaks to me a little bit more of the theme of the film. Plus, again, nostalgia. This is the first VHS that I owned, so the nostalgia is strong. But I get where you guys are coming from, and and I've lost the vote anyway. But for what it's worth, you've more or less persuaded me to join you, even if I had to have to reluctantly go that way. Okay, now I'm fascinated to see where this goes. So far, we've got from Russia to left at the top, Dark Note at the bottom. Where's Goldfinger going, in your guys' opinion?
My opinion is right at the top. I'll go
Abby's going.
Goldfinger, Dr. No, and then From Russia with Love.
Okay. Okay.
I think Abby's kind of
Our collective
I am
agreement.
biased.
No, but the bias is what it's all about here. So Abby would go. So what we've got currently ranked is From Russia with Love and then Goldfinger. I mean, From Russia with Love and then Doctor No. Abby's putting Goldfinger at the top. She's ranking that. Matt?
I think Abby's kind of opened my mind a little bit to the idea that Goldfinger does feel like a James Bond icon style, which I never really considered before, but it does have the feel of a style that kind of signifies Bond as an institution, as a brand. So I think it does need to get a lot of recognition for that. Comparing it to Dr. No, Abby mentioned like the Pulp Fiction style of those early ones, and I have to say I'm very drawn to that style. Yes, Goldfinger is like the glamorous one, but I'm kind of drawn to the more rough and gritty, pulpy style of the first two. Having said that, I think Goldfinger does have to go above Dr. No for me, but I don't think I can put it quite above From Russia with Love.
Fair enough.
Okay. Shucks. Again, before we had this conversation, it was obvious for me. Goldfinger was going at the bottom. And I'm like, it's great. This is great. And it makes you freaking think. And I hear what you're saying. Goldfinger, you've also, there's style, there's class, there's sex appeal, there's Bond as a franchise represented. Oh gosh, now I'm hearing you guys say this stuff. I kind of see it. I kind of see it. Sheesh. Part of me was convinced From Russia with Love would stay at the top. So actually, we've got three different opinions here on where this should go. Three completely different opinions. I was originally at least thinking bottom, Matt's thinking middle, and Abby's thinking top.
We're screwed, basically.
Oh,
we'll have to do an Instagram poll, and then everyone can vote.
Yeah.
I mean, we've still got 4 more films to cover in this discussion. You never know where influences might come in and barge things apart and split things up.
That's true, but Goldfinger's tough to beat.
So I'm torn. Part of me is like, okay, what's the middle opinion? And it's obviously Matt's, which is in the middle. Look, we don't have to hold this as anyone's going to hold us to this for life, and we've all allowed to have our own opinions. So for the sake of the video, we're just going to go with the middle opinion, which is kind of a middle opinion now, I suppose. Which is Matt's one, we'll just stick it in the middle. Wait, did you, Matt? Yeah, you had From Russia with Love at the top.
Yeah,
I did. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go with that. From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Dr. No. You both have enlightened me to the fact that Goldfinger is not a complete dud. That was my opinion.
Not at all.
Yeah, my opinion was the duddest of them all.
Well, I don't think I was that far behind you. I was just like, I never noticed the title because I was looking at the imagery.
Yeah, but Abby, it's so good having you here because like the fact that you're like that signifies class, and then I totally get Matt's opinion, like, and that then signifies the franchise. I'm like, well, that's pretty good.
I'm not a James Bond nerd, but I am a font nerd. So
yeah,
it's nice.
And that's why that is so helpful, honestly. Okay, the ranking is secondary. The education is primary here, guys. The ranking is secondary. Education is primary, at least for me. Okay, guys, we're going to go on number 4, the highest grossing Bond film of all time until Skyfall, for adjusted for inflation. Who went first last time? Matt.
Yes, I think
Yeah,
so.
I did.
Abby, talk to us. We've got 3 pages that Matt has put in
Yeah.
here. We're gonna. I don't think we're not gonna take the oddballs. Hey, look, actually, if you want to take one of the oddball ones, seriously,
I'm
you are
all
welcome
about
to.
that South African vinyl, man.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, we'll get there now. We'll get there now. Okay, Abby, tell us what you're seeing. Obviously, the posters are telling you, hey,
Yes.
this has got a water vibe to it. An underwater adventure thing. But tell us about the font. What do you see? What do you like? Comment on different variations.
Yeah. So I think the main font, if I'll say, it's quite a long word, but I think it works really well because it's got this really rounded, heavy typography to it. If I was sort of to look at it, I would almost feel like they're under pressure, which, as you said, has got to do with like being underwater, like it feels quite submerged, because it's a little bit wider than it is long. Not sure if that makes sense. And I think, yeah, I think the vinyls are fascinating. Obviously, music producers had as much freedom as they were allowed, and super interesting to see how everyone has translated it. But I think the first one, and these actually do seem to be similar, the UK and the US. I can't spot too big a difference, bar maybe the shading on the font. But yeah, I do like the rounded, heavy typography of it.
All right. So am I, when you look at the home video titles,
Yes.
the if you had to look at those and say the one this is yes simple the simple plain man's observation is the R is extended on the Thunder on the home on some of the home video titles. Um, do you prefer the original poster fonts that you said had that like squashed, compressed vibe to any of these? We've got a stencil version again here on one of them. Um, any thoughts on any of that, on any of those fonts there? Are you still leaning towards the original 60s logos as your favorite?
Yeah, I think I still lean towards those. I just think that they're bolder. And to be honest, this is probably my least favorite one of all of them. But if I had to choose, I think that first one is really punchy.
Great, punchy, love it, and I love that observation of compression. I, again, maybe you guys are just talking rubbish, and I'm buying it, but I'm part of me's like, I feel that actually. I got a bit of that feeling. Matt, you go next.
Well, the thing that stands out for me from the sort of the main poster one, which will refer to as the US one, to me it has the feel of military markings, and in the context of the film, that I kind of connect that with like the missiles that get stolen. They would be marked with text that looks just like that Thunderball, which is kind of like that chunky stenciled US Army, or although it's actually Royal Air Force in the film. But yes,
But I
but
see
but
it.
the same type of style. So that feels very appropriate to me from that point of view.
Brilliant.
But this is where I transition into my 90s teenage James Bond fan situation. And the Thunderball from the VHS and the DVD, the first DVD release, that to me is one of those ones that really stands out in my memory. More so than any of the poster, the original 1960s versions. So yeah, for me, I think of Thunderball as the title with the long R.
Hey, and that's totally fair. I might ask you another question or two right now. Here's my thinking. Abby's persuaded me to change my opinion. I again, uh, the first 2 VHSs I owned, Goldfinger and Thunderball. So nostalgia is heavy for me, and I've always thought that 60s Bond Thunderball font was plain, kind of like the same as I thought about the Goldfinger font. And so the Thunderball with the R just had something different to it, unique. It was like a little flourish. I don't think I didn't feel like it meant anything, but it just felt different. However, Abby's underwater thing, again, it may be total rubbish. That's just persuaded me.
Yeah.
I like that. But then Matt, when you said the military thing, I immediately went, oh yes, the title of this movie is the name of the operation. The kind of thing that you would almost, as you say, it would be on the side of the missile boxes, boom, that stamp. I also think of it as like the kind of thing similar to the Dr. No idea that you would find on a Operation Thunderball. If this movie was called Operation Thunderball, I would go with the 60s font because it's got that's whatever you want to call it, militaristic and stencil vibe, which is it. And so I've totally, like, with quite a lot of conviction actually, landed with Abby on the original font. But you persuaded me, Matt. At the end of the day, your thing landed me with Abby.
Oh, so good.
I never thought I would convince you to take the Eon party line there, Kyle.
I took the Eon party line. I've taken the Eon party line through your influence that you didn't land with, which is what's beautiful.
I thought you were a 90s Thunderball guy for sure.
Totally, 100%, Brie. And again, till this is the beautiful thing about this conversation. Until this conversation, I was. So now I'm fascinated. If we look at our current rankings, again, we're going to hold them loosely, but our current rankings, we've got I've lost it. We've got From Russia with Love at the top, Goldfinger, and then Dr. No. I was entering this conversation out, Thunderball being the bottom of the bottom, below everything. I'm not so sure. It's simply because of that militaristic situation where it's like Operation Thunderball. I'm like, oh, there's something there. Let me go first on this one. I would. Chiefest, do I really believe that? Either second or third for me. Although then I look at poor little Dr. No and I'm like, shame. He's like getting further and further away on our list. Someone's going to be bottom. But I think I do prefer it to Goldfinger, because of that very unique thing that it says, like militaristic, stolen missiles, Operation Thunderball, stamp on the mission file. So for me, it's either one or two. It's either above From Russia with Love or below. It can't go from bottom to the top. Okay, it can't go from bottom to top in one conversation for me. So I'm going to go second, personally. From Russia with Love, Thunderball, Goldfinger, Dr. No. Matt, you go next. Abby, you go third this time.
Well, for me, despite all the interesting things we've said about it, it's still the least interesting of the four to me.
Fair.
So I would put it at the bottom of the four so far, personally.
Yeah, I agree with Matt. I also think that and as much beef as I've had with From Russia with Love, it is slightly more interesting than Thunderball. So I've also got it at the bottom.
All right. Well, I can easily land with you guys because that's where I came into the conversation at. Okay. So Thunderball. I'm with you guys. Thunderball goes to the bottom. Dr. No has been saved. I love it. Okay, this is where things get very interesting for me. Like this is some of the like way out there and also on the nose in some ways things. And I suppose you could have very different opinions on this one depending on what you personally like and your unique styles. But let's go. You only live twice. There's the big one, which is whether it's stacked. Oh yeah, I know that word now. Whether it's stacked or whether it's on one line, you've got the split of the twice, right? That's the big thing. Sean Connery splits it, and the twice becomes two, which is very, 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 very clever. Very on the nose, but great and clever and unique. Then you've got those other ones where, again, there's a kind of the militaristic. There is actually like a militaristic stamp kind of font on that Ultimate Edition DVD and the other Blu-ray at the top there. But then you've got the VHS and special edition DVDs and VHS that have the, how have you describe it? You only live twice.
Yeah.
And I suppose there is something there about twice. There's a fold. The way I'm describing it. Let me not go first. I'm not gonna keep my opinions to last most of the way through these things. Matt, you go first this time.
Well, I guess I'll start maybe just to do things slightly differently by talking about the home video stuff first.
Yeah.
So You Only Live Twice, the font from the VHS to both DVD versions and the Blu-ray one as well. I think it's all the same font, but just laid out slightly differently.
I see that now. Yeah. Okay.
And it's not one that kind of stands out to me in any way or has a particular feel associated with the film. So yeah, I find all of those pretty forgettable. And I think it's actually quite interesting how the one that they came up with in the early 90s for that VHS kind of made the transition all the way through even now to today. But I guess that's also because the 60s poster one was so extremely visual in the way it treated the text. Now, going back to the 60s, I think one of the things to take into context is how You Only Live Twice was kind of the Bond film where it was almost reacting to the spy mania that the series itself had created. Like 1966 was the year that more spy movies came out than any other year in history. And that was on the back of the success of Goldfinger and Thunderball. So 1967, You Only Live Twice comes along, and it's kind of responding to its own phenomenon in a way. So everything's a bit more extreme, a bit more slapstick, a bit more out there, a bit more gimmicky. And in a way, for me, the font treatment reflects that kind of gimmicky James Bond that was starting to come to the fore. Also, though, I think, especially in the context of the posters, especially the one with the gyrocopter, to me, it's the best of all the James Bond posters. It's one of the ones that I have hanging on my wall, and that's because I absolutely love it.
Okay.
That whole over-the-top imagery paired with the very interesting and unusual title treatment with Sean Connery's icon standing there with the gun in between the two Twices. I think that whole combination taken as a whole, to me, makes it one of the very most memorable in the whole series.
I love it. So I just want to get clarity here. Number one poster in the series for you is that one sheet there.
That one with the little Nelly, yeah.
Oh, love it. Cool.
It's actually between that and Thunderball, the one with the 3 panels on top of each other.
Right.
But that era, 1965, 67, that's kind of my golden era of James Bond postery, so to speak.
I love it. Great context there as well on like the spy mania and things going over the top. I mean, Sean Connery, I'm just looking at that quad. Sean Connery walking sideways. I don't even know what I'm seeing there on the volcano base situation. But anyways, that's a whole other conversation. Abby, weigh in.
Sure. That's super interesting, Matt. I'm learning so much tonight. I think so. The first thing that I had thought when I saw this is that it's very elegant, and it's far less aggressive than any of the other titles or logos that we've seen up until now. It is very cinematic. I'm not sure if it is 100% in line with the James Bond franchise up until this point, but I do think like it reads easily. It's so nice and clean, and it's very clever.
And are you way more an advocate of those old poster fonts than any of the stuff that came on the DVDs and stuff later?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. I do think I'm a little bit biased. Maybe if I took them out of the post, I'd have a different opinion. But I think that it's so clever and something that hadn't been done before up until that point.
No, that's cool. I mean, we're all agreed then on the original logo. Which
can I just make one other comment very quickly?
Please.
Which is this is also where they really are emphasizing Sean Connery is James Bond, and it's treated in the exact same style with the exact same weight and size as the title of the movie. So
True.
in one sense, the thing that hits you over the head when you look at that title is Sean Connery is James Bond. So that's also as much part of the marketing as You Only Live Twice is, because he was really the selling point at that point. None of these other imitation spy movies had Sean Connery.
Right. That's such an interesting point. That's such a good point, bro. Just quickly looking at the fonts from the one is that Steelbook Blu-ray or whatever it is series that's been using the in movie title sequence fonts, which I actually really like that Blu-ray cover there. Any comments on the font from in the movie and on that? It's I don't know. It's got that. It's a bit of papyrus. I know it's not papyrus. I know it's not papyrus.
It's
and I know
Papyrus's cousin.
it's papyrus's cousin, and I know papyrus is very controversial. And I know that about fonts. But there's an Avatar papyrus vibe happening there. But Abby, any comments on that? And what do we think about this?
No, it's nowhere near as bad as Papyrus, actually. Yeah, also reads very easily. Is interesting again because it's not a serif, but it kind of could lead to potentially like the little feet could be there, or feels yeah, no, it's much better than the Avatar logo.
A question for you, Abby, because you don't have much context for this movie, I'm assuming, besides the posters and stuff here. The whole movie is basically set in Japan. Is there anything particularly Asian about any of these fonts? Does any of that come through? I only thought about that now because this to me is the closest font that says something remotely Asian. I don't know why, but it just says something remotely Asian to me. I don't know why.
Yeah, I can see that, and I can also see potentially in the first font on the posters, Japan is very much known. It's almost Scandi in a way, but like they're also very known for like clean lines and things that are simple and I think very different. Maybe that's why the font is so different to the other posters.
Matt, any comments on those final fonts, Papyrus's cousin?
Yeah, well, Papyrus's cousin, I mean, it was one of the reasons why I wanted to include some mention of the title treatments in the films themselves, because You Only Live Twice is a very memorable title sequence for a number of reasons, not least of which is the song, but also this is one of the few where the text is given a little bit of a style, something that says something about the film. It says this is the exotic one. This is the one that's set in the Far East in a far off place. So it's not the normal, very plain text, but rather something that has a little bit of extra character to it.
Yeah, exotic. That's I like that word. Okay, but neither of you are going to be voting for this over the OG poster, right?
Not me.
No. Me neither.
Me neither. This is a second for me though. I didn't think I'd go there, but Matt, I have to push back. Not that you made the claim on this particular movie, but if you go back to those home video titles, do you really think the special edition DVD is an upgrade on the VHS here again with the garish orange, blue? No.
I wouldn't pick it over, no.
They've all been horrific in my personal opinion, but anyway. Okay, guys, we are landing with the original split logo font, which I think is great. Is Sean Connery part of the logo font, much like the hammer and sickle is? I'm just throwing out a controversial question here. Do you think? I think you can go both ways because the Blu-ray later doesn't have him in there. So it's not like a must, but if you had to choose, would you put a little Sean Connery in there or not?
Not for me.
No, for me neither. Typography needs to be, if you can read it in one color, then it's good typography, and you wouldn't be able to do that even if he was like an icon, like a black and white icon. It would eliminate what you're trying to read, so I would remove him.
No, fair enough. I know you guys, I preferred the stacked on from Russia with Love, but on this I actually prefer the one-liner that then splits off at the end. It's like stronger and more clear for me.
Agree.
Me too.
All right. Okay, guys, that's fantastic. You got a full-on unanimous vote here on on You Only Live Twice, which is great. Let's see then what it means for this next bit now. Get your minds ready. Here's our rankings so far. At the top, we've got From Russia with Love. Then we've got Goldfinger. Then we've got Dr. No. And poor little Thunderball now. As everyone put Thunderball now at the bottom. I was even convinced. Matt, where are you starting? You Only Live Twice. Where are you thinking roughly? You can give a rough opinion first if you want. And this is direct.
To be honest, I would be inclined to put it number 1.
Okay. Because it's so unique and like identifiable.
Because it's so unique. It's representative of a certain aspect of the series as well. That kind of 1960s spy mania thing. And I just like that it's one of those ones where they take a word in the title and do something with it. Yeah.
Cool. So Matt's going all the way to the top for Matt. Abby?
For me, second, I'm still a bit biased towards Goldfinger. So it'd be Goldfinger, and then...
Okay, so for you, Goldfinger was...
You Only Live Twice.
Yeah. If you had to battle it out with From Russia with Love, because our current rankings has From Russia with Love at the top and then Goldfinger. So if you had to take this somewhere, you stick it under Goldfinger.
Under Goldfinger, but above From Russia with Love. But
in your ranking,
I do know I'm outvoted.
No. Okay, cool. Shucks. I'm tempted to go. It's 1 or 2 for me. It's number 1 or 2 for me on our current rankings here. I'm tempted to go with Matt and put it at the top. But I still just love the From Russia with Love Cold War hammer and sickle thing. What did you say, Abby? When you're battling it with From Russia with Love, where are you landing?
I put it above, but that's just because
No, then we've got to
the
go
hammer
with
and
you guys.
sickle are annoying.
No, then we've got to go with you guys then. We've got to go with you guys. Both of you put it above what is the team number 1. So it's the new number 1, guys. It's the new number 1. You Only Live Twice.
Amazing.
Is our top logo in our attempted collective opinion here. You Only Live Twice. All right, guys. We've only got 2 movies to go. This is fantastic conversation. It's been really interesting, can I just say, in terms of just thinking through these things and seeing things that I'd never seen before, especially on some of those more subtle ones. And even that title treatment from the title sequence of You Only Live Twice was fascinating. So, okay, some context for Abby here. Now, Sean Connery leaves the series at this point. He's done. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He's having issues with the producers, and they go and hire, in short, an Australian car salesman turned model who basically faked his way in the audition and pretended to be an actor, and he landed the role. Like, this sounds like fiction. It is not. Australian actor George Lazenby comes in. He does this movie, and then he leaves the series because he thinks, I've done my thing, I'm out. And then they get Sean Connery back for the next one. So what we've got here is a very unique one-off movie, Abby. So only time there's a James Bond who's only in 1 film. They kind of break continuity with the previous movie. So it's the same villain as the previous movie in Japan, except in this movie, Bond and him meet for the first time. So this is where the continuity stuff in the Bond movies goes all haywire. So you just got a very, in a sense, separate James Bond movie here in many ways. So that's just a little bit of context. Matt, maybe I've now lost count of who went first last time, but Matt, I thought I'd get you to weigh in here just to see if there's anything extra from the Bond side that may add stuff to Abby's opinion as we talk. And I have no opinion on this thing. So what is?
Yeah, not much that would change one's opinion very much, but it is worth noting the absence of the George Lazenby is James Bond on this poster.
Exactly.
They really shied away from that once there was a new actor. They sort of almost try to hide the fact that there's a new actor in the one poster.
They cover his face.
But yeah, so it's an interesting Bond, separate, as you say, Kyle, in that it breaks away from the previous 5 films. but at the same time, it's also one of the most faithful James Bond movies in terms of how it goes back to Ian Fleming and to an original story and tells it in a very faithful way, which is why you end up with the continuity errors that you mentioned, because they went and adapted the book as it was written, and in that book, Bond and Blofeld had never met.
Yeah. No, that's super. That's super helpful. Matt, when you look at I think there's more or less just two versions of this font, if I'm correct. You've got what's on the posters, pretty much, and that Ultimate Edition DVD, and then you've got that other one, which is, in my opinion, just has more to it, in terms of the layout and everything. Matt, what's your vote here?
I don't have any particular liking for the main poster fonts. To me, it's kind of similar to GoldenEye. Sorry, not GoldenEye, Goldfinger. A bit more chunky, I guess. But a similar style of font. I do quite like the home video version, with the words in different sizes and stacked interestingly. I don't quite know why the N in on is the only letter that's not capitalized in the thing. That's always fascinated me. But yes, I do like I'd go for the VHS version. That would be my pick, actually.
You see, this is one of those things now. Like I've looked at this cover for
gonna
years,
be annoying,
and I've never seen that. And I'm like, that is fascinating. So thank you for that. And I'm going to push you here, Matt. On the VHS versus special edition DVD, do you prefer the gold treatment or do you like the flat white?
I like the gold treatment, but I would prefer the flat white, especially the way it stands out against the blue sky.
Yeah, it's hard to read. The placement's also unfortunate on the DVD in terms of readability. Okay, Abby, the original poster font or the 90s video font?
Yeah, I also much prefer the 90s video font. I think my thoughts on this were that like this title is so long, which as the designer, I think that's a huge challenge. And I think especially with the poster font, there's no hierarchy, like everything is just the same size. And I really love that on the video titles that there is hierarchy, which makes it a lot more interesting. And I think that that's a really good example of how like the typography is sort of solving that layout problem by stacking it. Some words are bigger. And
loving that. I also I've learned stacking and I've learned hierarchy.
Yes.
That's just fantastic. Like instead of making me sound like a toddler and saying things like, the big one and the small one. It's correct. Hierarchy. That totally makes sense. A question for Abby here, and there may not be a positive answer to this. Is there anything about this font that speaks of royalty or majesty? Not that the movie itself is all about royalty, but it's the idea of he works for Her Majesty's government. Is there anything that says Her Majesty's to it, or am I asking a question that there's no answer?
No, well, I think potentially maybe the color treatment of the two video covers in the middle, with being like sort of the gold gradient, could potentially look a little bit more regal, and then similarly to Goldfinger, it being like a serif as well, is just a bit like regal as opposed to a sans serif that's a bit more modern.
A bit more modern, yeah. It's got the old school. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, a bit more old
That's cool.
school.
Okay. I mean, I'm with you guys. I'm going with the VHS and DVD, the modern 90s and onward one. There's just quite simply for me, I would have just said there's just more to it. There's something to stand out. We don't have any. No, that's it for these. All right, guys. Let's just start wide here. Matt, is this a bottom tier, top tier, middle tier font for you? Let's just start there.
From what we've examined so far, it's probably my least favorite
of all of them. So it's for you. It's not even a tier conversation. It's going bottom spot. Simple.
Well, I mean, I guess for me, bottom would be between this one and Thunderball. I do like that we've included one of the 90s variations rather than
this is our first
or-
90s variation.
yeah, so this is the first time we've kind of deviated from what has been the sort of the main poster font.
Good point.
But it's also interesting that this seems to be the one that they've settled on as the sort of the modern identity of the movie. If you look at that the modern cover with Lazenby leaning on the lamppost, they've stuck with the 90s version. They've actually transitioned back from the movie poster font on the Ultimate Edition DVD back to the 90s style.
Yes.
So I think that's kind of significant, and I think it's cool that we've incorporated one of those 90s versions in at this point. So yes, I might place it just above Thunderball for that reason, and because yes, it is an attractive looking font. We've got some interesting stuff going on with the hierarchy and the sizing and the stacking and all that. So yeah, I'd put it second from bottom.
Okay, you're putting it second from bottom above Thunderball. Abby, I'm gonna start you out wider as well. If on like a tier basis, is this like top tier for you, middle tier, bottom tier?
I think I'd have to say bottom tier, unfortunately. I think the others were just really strong contenders. It's not terrible, but it's just not like as interesting or as deep.
Okay, no, that's fair. Then if we take the bottom two on our list here, which is Dr. No and Thunderball, where would you stick this amongst them? So we've got Dr. No, Thunderball's bottom right now. Do you put this below Thunderball as the bottom of the bottom? Is it above Thunderball? Above Dr. No?
Pop it in the middle.
You pop it in the middle.
So just under, yeah.
So
under
exactly where Matt.
And before Thunderball, yes. Yeah, same as Matt.
Okay. Well, either way, if I put it somewhere else, I lose. I'm uploaded. So that's where it's going. I don't even have to have an opinion on this, but for the sake of it, I'll think of something now. I do prefer it to Thunderball. And I hear you, Doctor No. Yeah, cool. Actually, I land with you guys. We'll keep it simple. Okay, we've got 190s font that's made its way through. I did think there would be more coming in on this. And I suppose, Matt, you wanted more. You would have had Thunderball 90s font in there as well.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to vote Thunderball 90s font as well, but you persuaded me against that. And Goldfinger, I thought I was going Goldfinger 90s font. Maybe I still would, but I think you guys were both on a classic there. So okay, this is a great conversation, guys. We have one more movie to talk about. And again, it's that strange on the nose stuff. Abby, this is Sean Connery's last movie. He came back. They paid him $1 million. It was $1 million at the time.
Could have been more, in fact.
Yeah, this was like the highest paid salary for an actor.
I think they gave him more money to act in this film than they spent on making Dr. No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, it's that kind of situation. And I mean, all you need to know on this one is a diamond laser satellite in case you're trying to figure out some of that stuff on the poster. But there's diamond smuggling, and a lot of it takes place in Las Vegas. And that's the gambling vibe, which I suppose is classic James Bond in some ways. So, Abby, you talk to us here. We've got kind of three versions that you have. You've got the 60s diamonds are forever, 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 which is, I suppose, the new version of You Only Live Twice, Twice.
Yes.
Then you've got the 90s VHS DVD, which is the diamonds are forever, the hierarchy of forever, as we could say here. That's the situation there. And then you've got the much plainer, I don't know what you want to call it.
Basically the 1970s one without all the additional forevers.
Oh, that's what it is. The 70s one without the forevers. So, Abby, talk to us. What do you see? What do you think?
Okay, so as similar to you, I also saw that it had a similar look and feel to You Only Live Twice, that like strong visual metaphor. And I think what's interesting about these two titles is they really feel designed for me instead of just typeset. It's not like they just chose a font and typed it up. Like they really had to design it. And then when you were mentioning that it's set in Las Vegas, I think potentially it could look like one of those one-armed bandits. Like obviously, I think it represents forever, but I
Yes.
do think there might be something there with the scrolling. Yeah,
And slot
that
machines,
could be cool.
not typically a James
Yeah,
Bond
slot
thing,
machine.
but they are in this movie, and they are featured in this movie in many ways. So that's fascinating. Do you prefer that? Is that your favorite out of all of them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, on the original posters, I really like that. I think it's so clever
Uh,
and designed beautifully.
All right. So that's getting your vote out of all the various options. Let me jump in here for the last time and go in the middle of the format. I'm torn. I'm very, very torn because um, I like the Forever. I've got no love for the simple Diamonds Are Forever without the repetition that you got in the last two covers there. But I'm very torn between the clever You Only Live Twice design, but the nicely, I think, well weighted, structured, nice hierarchy, as we've said, on that VHS in particular, but maybe even the DVD. I'm really torn because it's just something class, and maybe this is where the answer comes. Diamonds Are Forever is not a classy movie, so maybe it's a trashy movie in many ways, and maybe that's where the answer comes. Is that old logo suits it more. So maybe I'm edging there, but I'm quite torn. Matt, talk to me. Talk to us.
I think one interesting aspect, and what you mentioned about the home video versions, uh, particularly for me, actually, in this case, this is one of the ones where the special edition DVD comes into its own in a way. It kind of, to me, that one highlights the trashy element, the trashy Las Vegas element,
I
the big forever with the gold gradient look to it, and it kind of the way that the gradient works in the small diamonds are, it kind of glitters in a Las Vegas-y sort of way. So I kind of it has like a nice parallel to the movie for me in that way. But I think the Diamonds Are Forever, Forever, Forever is kind of one of those iconic James Bond marketing things that they came up with. I think they even incorporated that into the trailer. They had animated forevers that came up when the
okay,
title
cool.
came up in the trailer. So
I
it was one
remember.
of those kind of like throughout the marketing campaign, that was something that the whole movie was sort of hung on from a marketing point of view. And yes, I'm. It's not a film that I'm very fond of, and I don't like the posters particularly. To me, they don't
Yeah.
really feel like Diamonds Are Forever the movie. But I think, yeah, for a title treatment, I think that's one of the ones that stands out in the history of the Bond movies. Whether it's one of the best ones, not too sure, but to me, it's one of the most iconic.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that. It is super iconic. Like if you were to buy a Diamonds Are Forever T-shirt, right? With like a Japanese Diamonds Are Forever poster, you know those kind of vibes. You're never gonna get the VHS DVD font. You're gonna 100% get that 60s poster. It's just got a thing to it. So yeah, all right, we're okay. Dude, you almost sold me though
Yeah,
on that
me
trashy
too.
gold thing. I was like, I can feel this. Like I can feel this. Um, but let's go with let's go with the original one. Um, let's go with the original one. Okay, but now here's what's the funny thing: Diamonds Are Forever and You Only Live Twice. These two quite iconic um, visuals here, titles, are two of my least favorite James Bond movies. They are probably out of my bottom three James Bond movies. Two of them are in there, um, which is just fascinating. It's just a fascinating side comment for me. Um,
And we're on the same page with that too. I mean, to me, I think they're in terms of quality, two of the least of the James Bond films, apart from the volcano set in You Only Live
yeah,
Twice. That's great, but the film as a whole, I think it's all around quite shoddy, badly written, etc. And Connery is he was wanting out at that point, and it shows in his performance.
totally. Like there's yeah, agreed on all of that. So it is fascinating. Um, if I had to think of this, I'll go first here. If I had to think of this in like a in tiers, Top tier, middle tier, bottom tier. Oh, shucks. Do you know what? It's probably middle to bottom tier. I think the Twice is way cooler, slicker, cleverer. This is like a it's like a ripoff of Twice. It's in my book. This is like the B version of that. And then when I think of some of those other fonts, like From Rush with Love, even Goldfinger, Doctor No, personally, even Thunderball, I'm like, you so sold me on Thunderball, bro, on the original logo. That this to me is probably more middle to bottom. That's oh geez, is it even lower? That's where I am roughly. I'll come back. Abby, give us a tier. Where's it floating for you?
Yeah, I think that is a hard one. I definitely agree that it's I'd say the B version of You Only Live Twice. You Only Live Twice reads a lot quicker and better. I still think it is more interesting than On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and I don't know, potentially Thunderball. So I'd say middle, not top.
Somewhere
But
somewhere in the
also
middle.
won't be bleak if it's at the bottom.
Yeah. If I had to push you, this versus Doctor No.
Ooh, I think Doctor No. I think I prefer Doctor No to this one. Yeah.
Cool. No, that's helpful. All right. I'm seeing where Abby's got it. Matt, where are you?
When you said middle tier, that sort of rang true to me, because I think it has something. It has a little bit of an interesting design to it that elevates it above where I'd put it if I was judging it purely on how much it kind of means to me as a icon of the movie. But it is a classic James Bond style. But yes, I do think overall the package is not as strong, and it would be a middle tier thing for me. But because Doctor No as a movie also just resonates a lot better for me than Diamonds Are Forever, and the fact that it's 4 letters, quite kind of big and strong, and also has an interesting style with that typewriter rough edges. I think for me it's one I prefer to Diamonds Are Forever. So yes, for me Diamonds Are Forever would sit between Doctor No and On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Yeah. That's I mean that feels right to me. That feels right to me. There's probably an element of the fact that I love all James Bond movies. This is just the worst of the ones that I love, which puts it at like 24, 25 out of 25. So that's probably pulling it down. But that being said, as I say, Your England Twice is down there as well, and we've got it at the top of the list. So maybe I'm not being as influenced by the trashness of the movie as I think I am. But guys, that feels right to me. Diamonds Are Forever happens there. Okay, guys, we've got our rankings list here. I'll start from the bottom. After much debate, and Abby, thank you so much for just bringing in a bunch of really helpful language, first of all, but then genuine insight into things. From an outsider, being able to pick up certain themes and threads and be like, I'm picking up this, and it's like, yeah, that's helpful, and also highlighting things that just didn't even think of, but realized that's so true. So, thank you so much for your
You're welcome.
external perspective.
Glad
Here-
it was
so
helpful.
here's our ranking. At the bottom is poor Mr. Thunderball, but we love it. We love these all. Thunderball, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Diamonds Are Forever, Doctor No squarely in the middle, Goldfinger from Rush with Love, our number one voted logo from the Sean Connery Lazenby era is You Only Live Twice, which no one can argue is not iconic for sure. So you may debate on where these land, but man, in terms of iconography, that is the top 2 or 3 out of these here for sure. So it feels good, guys. Will we come back in 3 years' time and tweak our opinions? Maybe. But guys, any final thoughts before we go? To everyone who's been watching, thank you so much for joining us. If you've liked this, because it is super niche and super out there, but if you've liked this, please do like and subscribe to the channel. I don't know if Abby knows this yet, but we do plan to bring her back for one more to chat through
Please.
some of the rest of the logos in the series. Whether we'll break it into 2 parts or 3 parts, we'll get there. But Abby, any final thoughts?
No, thank you so much for the opportunity. I think this is really interesting, and I love typography, and I love the way that it solves problems. And I think I aspire to like this level of, I know this was in the 60s, and I think sometimes we can get caught up because everybody has a computer now and they can just design their own thing on Canva or wherever. But I think if you look at the careful consideration behind these movie titles, I feel like really inspired to hone my craft a little bit better.
That's amazing. I'm so glad there's a positive coming out of this for you. Matt?
I just love the way that these styles kind of illustrate the golden era of James Bond in various different facets. So the incorporation of icons and gimmicks, for want of a better word, in the typography, and just an era of James Bond where Bond was on top of the world and setting the trend for everybody else.
That's it. This was it. Well, guys, thanks for being on here. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. But for now, this is Matt, this is Abby, this is Kyle, Station CT, signing off.